Matter Hit, brought to you by Capital Preservation Services, the tax planning team that helps business owners earn more and keep more.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, man, you learn something new every day. As we were talking to Steve Palazzolo during the break, want to welcome you in, say good morning. The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, is brought to you by Live Oaks Golf Club. Get the sticks ready. Go out and play 9 or 18 at Live Oaks Golf Club, Highway 49 North. And Roosevelt should be back open tomorrow. With the storms coming through, they got hit pretty hard. But their super cool restaurant and bar should be back open tomorrow. We'll let you know. You can go smash a Philly cheesesteak sandwich or some wings or a cheeseburger and a cold Coors Light. Live Oaks Golf Club, Highway 49 North. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. I think this is a good time to drop a vasectomy live endorsement. Mississippi Urology is one of our great partners. And as you know, years ago, I got a vasectomy there. It was the best investment I've ever made because kids are expensive. And just want to give a shout out to Mississippi Urology. And if you're in the market for a vasectomy, it's where you want to go. We want to welcome in Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com, on the Modelo guest line. Steve, good morning. How are you?
Doing great. That could have been our big sponsor for a while now. Right? You didn't even know.
I had no idea. All right, you have 4 boys under 5 years old. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, a crazy pace over here.
Oh my God, are you going to go for the back for 5?
No.
Okay,
we're not.
I bet. All right, so I have 2 kids, but they're now in high school, but they're 17 months apart, and I thought that was nuts. You have 4 under 5. I bet your house is a madhouse. Did Steve just drop on us and say, I'm out?
His 4 boys just canceled the call. We'll get him back on.
All right, cool. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, again, brought to you by Mississippi Urology. And they do a great job on many things, including a vasectomy. Some of you may be looking to do that after having a couple of kids or no kids. Whatever. You remember I was trying to advocate for, like, all 18-year-olds to have a vasectomy, or 19. I mean, if the government's going to pay for all the things that they're talking about, this would be a great way to, to make sure that we would cut down on some things. All right, Steve Palazzolo on the Modelo guest line. Steve, as this thing trends, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Are Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers getting a divorce, or do you think that they could reconcile? He could play one more year in Green Bay, and then they move off of him to Jordan Love?
Yeah, my initial feeling is that if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to be with you, he's gone. I mean, he's done it with his own family, so I can't imagine it's I don't know. I thought he was done with the Packers, but the more the reports come out that it's not Rodgers versus LaFleur, it's Rodgers versus Gutekunst, the general manager, and LaFleur's kind of on his side. There could be a front office move. There could be something that would appease Rodgers. But my initial feeling is he's out. And you guys know, like, the whole offseason I was like, Russell Wilson in Seattle will figure it out. Even thought Deshaun Watson, before all the allegations, would figure it out with the Texans. I don't have as much faith with the Packers and Rodgers figuring it out before the season.
Okay. And in the last 10 drafts, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. The last 10 drafts, the Packers have drafted 9 defensive players and Jordan Love. Just the way the game is played and the way y'all run the numbers and the way that you have to move the ball and score points, how would you frame that up from what the Packers have done the last decade in the first round?
Yeah, I think look, offense is the dictator in football. And, you still want to be good defensively, but the goal should be as good as you can be offensively, score as many points as possible, and then defense is so tough to predict. In certain years, you'll have a good defense, and that's how you win championships. On the other hand, it's not like the Packers have put Rodgers in a bad situation. He's been playing behind one of the best offensive lines. Devontae Adams might be the league's best wide receiver. So they've had playmakers, and they've gotten them in later rounds. Bakhtiari was a third. Devontae was a second. But, yes, you generally want to attack with offense. And look at the top. The Packers were one of the Final Four teams, but look at the other teams. They were in the Final Four last year. The Bucs. How do you cover all of those receivers and tight ends? How do you cover the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce? The Chiefs' best bet would be to get more offensive weapons there. So you can't just focus on those two. And then the Bills did a great job building around Josh Allen, giving him 3-4 legitimate wide receivers to throw to and building that offensive line to a reasonable spot. So yeah, I think offense should always be the focus a little bit more than defense in today's NFL.
In other words, you would give them an F over a decade in the first round, taking non-defensive players and a backup that wasn't ready.
I mean, some of those players have been good, but yeah, the Jordan Love thing is an F. I mean, since last year, it's a pretty bad couple of years for the Packers drafting Jordan Love and the fallout of drafting Jordan Love and pissing Aaron off. And then this year's draft wasn't great either. So yeah, I think it's close to an F, at least over the last couple of years for Green Bay.
Bottom line it for me, Steve. Mac Jones, Jordan Love type prospects have no business going in the first round, and really at the end of the day, they're more third, fourth, maybe even fifth round talent. And
no, Mac Jones is better. He's better than Jordan Love.
Really?
So the thing about I don't care about quarter. So there was a couple quarterbacks early in the decade, Christian Ponder and Jake Locker and E.J. Manuel. I thought those guys. I would never take a shot on those guys in the first round.
Okay.
But I don't. But the payoff of hitting on a quarterback is just so great. It's really an uneven bet that I think it's okay, and your organization can handle it. The Jordan Love thing, it's debatable because you got Aaron Rodgers. You have Rodgers for the next 3 years, and you don't want to sacrifice that. But the goal is always to find the top 8 to 10 quarterback, and you really never know. So I don't mind teams taking shots on quarterbacks, even if it seems like a bit of a stretch.
All right. So you really think Mac Jones deserved a first-round grade?
Yeah, I like him at 15. I think it's fine at 15. He does. He's you've compared him to A.J. McCarron. He's better than A.J. McCarron, I believe. He had a better situation than McCarron, but I think he does do NFL things well as far as working through progression, throwing the ball accurately, some of those in the pocket type of things. It's my biggest question with Mac Jones is what does he do when the play's not there? What does he do outside of structure? And we just haven't had a whole lot of recent history of those types of quarterbacks progressing in the NFL. And we have a recent history of the athletic, natural playmakers like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes really taking that next step and becoming stars. So there might be a cap or a ceiling to Mac Jones, but can he go in and become a top 15 quarterback that's a good facilitator in a good system? Absolutely. I think he can. And that could absolutely be well worth it for the Patriots as they build their roster in the next few years and just want a rookie contract type of quarterback.
You said Josh Allen and you didn't say Dak Prescott. Are you trying to break up with the show?
And Dak too. Dak,
okay.
Star.
All right.
Borderline top 8 to 10 quarterback here. That's Dak.
All right. With Mac Jones, if he this is all of them, but with Mac Jones, does he have the ability to dissect, process, and throw into super tight small windows? Is that the bottom line on this thing?
I mean, the super tight thing, we'll see. I mean, coming from Alabama, there wasn't a whole lot of evidence with that, right? And it might take some time. Honestly, it might take some time for Tua to still get used to what NFL Open is compared to Alabama Open, which is different. Doesn't mean he can't do it. It might just take a little bit. I don't think Mac's going to have the easiest transition of everybody just because he happens to be a smart player that ran the Alabama offense. Well, I think it's going to be tough in New England. But the thing is, if you don't have a great arm, which he doesn't, you have to play a little bit faster. You got to play with a little bit more anticipation, and Mac at least has that ability. He showed it, even though I think it could be a little bit before we see Mac with that mastery of the Patriots offense.
Would you how would you frame up the draft pick of Jordan Love? Terrible when they did it, considering needs and where. I mean, it's not like Aaron had 1 year left, Steve. Like Roethlisberger,
right? Right, exactly. I hate it for a couple reasons because I think the goal is to have this, hypothetical top 8 type of quarterback. And then when you get it, you just go all in. And sometimes you get that guy on a rookie contract and it's great. You can spend a ton of money. Sometimes it's, later in their career, it's Rodgers, Breeze, Brady, and you have to pay them a little bit more. But either way, once you have that top 8 guy, you can compete, year in, year out. Obviously the Packers have that guy. So it wasn't the last year of Rodgers' contract. It's not. It was a slightly declining Aaron Rodgers. I'll give the Packers that. He wasn't looking good in the last couple of years leading up to the draft pick. But then last year he was incredible. He was still one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, even when they drafted Jordan Love. So it is taken away from one of his weapons or another offensive lineman or whatever it might be, so you can make that run with Aaron Rodgers. So, and plus, I just didn't love Jordan Love as a first rounder. I did think he was more of a day 2 type of prospect. So
fourth.
Yeah, I would have been comfortable taking him in the third, just because he has a little bit of that upside. But yeah, I didn't like the pick overall.
Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone. Steve Palazzolo, PFF.com on the Modelo guest line. But if you're going right now, you're thinking Aaron's played his last snap for Green Bay.
I would lean that way. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a low percentage chance that Green Bay earns his trust and does something in the front office that appeases him and brings him back for 2021.
And you expect him, they're going to make sure that he goes to the AFC. So that leaves.
I would think so.
Okay, all right. So that leaves the Broncos, the Raiders, maybe could the Titans. All right. A.J. Brown and Jeffrey Simmons are tied to this state. Could the Titans trade Ryan Tannehill and some other draft picks, get Rodgers? Green Bay knows they get Tannehill for a year to give Jordan Love more time to develop. What do you make of that scenario, Steve?
I'd have to look at Tannehill's contract and see how much that would affect their cap. But I also think A.J. Brown's awesome, but the Titans have done nothing to put players next to him. They lost Corey Davis. They lost Jonnu Smith, the tight end. I think it's a less attractive spot for Rodgers compared to, say, Denver, where they're loaded at receiver. And I don't know why Rodgers and Russell Wilson both said they wanted to go to Las Vegas. I don't know if that's just the city or if it's John Gruden, but it's not like the Raiders have this beautiful roster that you want to go to. So Denver still seems like the best fit for Rodgers, in my opinion.
And they would not give – if they can get a deal done after June 1, the Packers and the Broncos, I don't think Denver would give up Jerry Jeudy. Do you?
They might have to.
Okay.
Because they don't have this year's first rounder to give anymore. I think people thought that there might be this last minute trade right on draft night, and you have pick number 9 overall. I did hypothesize on draft night, though, that maybe Patrick Surtain was the guy that Green Bay would have wanted, and because they need a corner, and Denver took it because Denver didn't have a cornerback need, but they still took the top corner off the board at 9 overall. So I wondered if Surtain could be a part of the package. Green Bay could also definitely use a receiver opposite Devontae Adams, who's also going to be a free agent soon. So I could see Jeudy being a part of the mix, but Denver would have to give up a lot, I think, to make Green Bay happy.
Gruden Rodgers would be unbelievable for your business and my business, just because of the egos and the lack of oxygen in the room once they got in there.
Yeah.
I think it would be a train wreck because I think Gruden's slap average as a coach. Great personality and brand and TV dude. Don't you think that would it would have enormous highs and lows, Gruden Rodgers?
Yeah, I think it would. I think Gruden has done a nice job with that offense. That offense was good last year, but as a team, they're still not making moves forward. They are one step forward, one step back, it seems, with every move that they make, and that showed up on the field. They've basically been a 500 team over the last couple of years. So, yeah, it would be interesting TV, but not necessarily the home run that it might seem based off the names that are getting together there.
Steve Palazzolo on the Modelo guest line. Let's switch gears to the Dallas Cowboys. Our listeners want to know, did Dallas do anything to help Dak Prescott, offense or defense? I understand they went heavy defense, but did Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones in that front office do a good job, pretty good job, average job over the weekend to make Dallas better and maybe give them a little bit of a push into a playoff appearance in 2021?
Yeah, I think it was an average job. I think they were fine. Last year, a lot of good players fell into their lap with CeeDee Lamb and Trevon Diggs and other players that we liked later in the draft. This year felt like they just missed. Every time it would have been a great fit for a player that came off the board just before Dallas picked, including that Patrick Surtain pick at 9. I think he would have been great. Dallas trades down to get Micah Parsons from Penn State. So adding 2 linebackers to the mix, 2 guys who were top 45 on our board, Jabril Cox, the 4th rounder out of LSU, we liked quite a bit. But now reports are coming out that they're trying to move to a 34 defense, and they're going to, maybe have to have Micah Parsons be more of an edge rusher, which he's not. He's got the skill set, but he's never done it. So that's kind of a big risk if that's what they're trying to do. They got about 5 linebackers out there for 2 starting spots if they are playing the 3-4. So I have some questions about what they're trying to do there defensively. And even second rounder Telvin Joseph out of Kentucky, incredible potential, ran a sub 4.3 40, great quicks, works downhill really well. But at the same time, it does feel like that maybe they just missed on our top safety, Trevon Merrig from TCU, who went just off the board just ahead of them to the Raiders. So felt like Dallas just missed on some good players, but they did add some depth on the defensive line. I like a lot of that. But overall, I'd say an average effort, and it could have been much better if, a couple picks fell to them in the first and second round there.
Let's go back to quarterback. Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, NFL Insider, PFF.com. You mentioned mobility and athleticism earlier when we were discussing QBs. And what can you do outside of structure? Because Josh Allen, Mahomes, Rodgers, Dak can make plays. When we're looking at the boards that are rolling out for 2022, and there are some of these NFL draft insiders, which is fine, that have 4 and 5 QBs going in the first round, and they don't have Matt Corral. I mean, to me, this day and age, and correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, this day and age, Matt Corral's skill set is what the NFL is looking for. Your thoughts?
Yeah. How tall is he right now? I mean, just
6'2" and change?
I think it's because he feels smaller, right? I think it's just because he feels small. And teams like Baker Mayfield was never on the first-round watch list. Kyler Murray certainly wasn't on the first-round watch list a year early. Guys who don't stand 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". I know Spencer Rattler's a little bit shorter, but a lot of those guys just don't get into the mix until they have that one more year, and you kind of see the NFL arm and you see the skill set and all that stuff. Yeah, my thing with playing inside and outside of structure, you still have to win within the pocket. You still have to hit open throws. I mean, it's the most important thing about the quarterbacking, but play calling is really good across the league. Offenses are really good across the league. It's almost like there's no edge around the league from a play caller standpoint other than a few guys. The edge has to be, well, what if the play caller is off? Or what if the defense makes the right call? Then what happens? And this is exactly what the Rams did this offseason. They said, look, Jared Goff can only take us so far. And we need a guy that if we don't call the right play, he's going to, maneuver the pocket, find an open guy, whatever it might be. That's Matthew Stafford. So that skill set is extremely valuable. Playing like a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees or a Peyton Manning, it's not that you can't do it. Tom Brady just won a Super Bowl, but this is like watching Greg Maddux at the end of his career throwing 84 miles an hour with, great movement and pinpoint accuracy and all that stuff. Like, okay, it's doable, but you have to do it at the level of Greg Maddux. So those guys don't exist. Brady's and Breezes and Peytons don't exist anymore. And for Mac Jones even to succeed, he would have to do it at that level of precision and anticipation and decision-making, which is just difficult to do. So the athletic and mobile quarterbacks, they give you a little bit of run game element. They give you a little bit of natural playmaking that a play caller can't come up with. I think, if Corral has another good year and he just shows those instinctual plays, I think he'll very much be on the radar because it is what all of this next wave of quarterbacks look like, across the NFL. So you want to be able to have a guy that can do a little bit more than just what the play gives you.
All right. Corral is listed at 6'1", so I was wrong. So that means he's probably shorter than that.
6 feet.
Yeah.
Right. and that's the problem. So initially, you're never going to have a 6 unless he's an absolute stud. Again, I forget what Rattler is. I think he's close
6
to
feet.
that. But
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you get that like legitimate, clear as day star. Malik Willis is up there now. He's 6'1". You're just a lot of times there's just going to be like a height bias until you start to see a guy play a little bit more.
Okay. In my opinion, he'll be in the top 10 by the end of the year. But I could be wrong. Like Tom Luganbill comes on this show. He's with ESPN. And I asked him about Malik Willis. And he said, yeah, he's a good player, but he couldn't start most places in the SEC. Hugh Freeze has made him, a freak at the G5 level. Then I asked Luganbill about who would you take, Spencer Rattler or Matt Corral? And he said Corral. By nose, but he said Corral. But I just feel like Rattler gets the benefit of the doubt. They're about the same size. Corral may be a slightly bigger. But he goes to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's been the flavor of the month for about 20 years now, QB-wise.
The system's been great over there. Yeah, I'd have to watch both of those guys closer from like an NFL lens. Malik Willis does ridiculous things with the football, though. Like his best 20 plays are as good as it gets. It's only 20 plays, and that's the problem. There's a lot of bad in there as well. But Malik Willis is going to get a lot of buzz because he's got this Michael Vick, Josh Allen type of arm, plus athleticism. Malik Willis has the best arm. It looks like he's got the best arm to come out since Josh Allen. So he'll get plenty of buzz just for that alone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So, and he'll get another, and again, this is important to you and many. Well, evidently it wasn't important to the 49ers because they took Trey Lance with 17 starts. But he'll get another 13 starts under his belt if he stays healthy, which, again, you believe in that, don't you? I mean, what is your threshold? 25, 26, 30 games? I mean, Dak and Eli are two case studies from this state that were fifth-year seniors and started over 30 games. And I just think there is something to getting knocked around in college and playing a ton of ball. Do you?
Yeah, I think there is something to it. I don't have like a cutoff or anything like that. For me, it's just here's more data points. So here's another year of data, and if a guy's that talented, you would expect him to take a step forward. You would expect him to, with all this hype, you would expect him to be look like an NFL prospect a year from now and improve on some of the stuff that he needs to improve upon. So for me, it's just more data, more film, more things to watch rather than just like a set number of starts that you want to see from a quarterback. But yeah, it's a pretty good history of guys that have more experience rather than less.
All right. Fair enough. Steve Palazzolo. He's got the podcast, Pro Football Focus, NFL Podcast, PFF.com. They crushed the draft. Now getting ready for the season. He joined us on the Modelo guest line. Steve, have a great weekend. Thank you, man.
Thanks, guys. The kids are starting to cry over here. It's getting crazy.
You got to take them to Chick-fil-A, my friend. Chick-fil-A is the way to go. All right. Man, I had no idea that he had 4 kids under 5. That's impressive to me.
Nah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And that guy, he gets after it with PFF. So, a lot going on in Palazzolo's world. I thought there was a lot going on years ago in my world with 2 17 months apart. Holy Mary old Zeb. Hey, the show is brought to you by Juniker Jewelry Store, Highland Colony in Madison. If you're in the market for an engagement ring, wedding ring, necklace, bracelet, earrings, Juniker Jewelry Store, Highland Colony in Madison. They will take care of you. Back in a sec.